So the quarterback carousel turns again today as the question of what the Indianapolis Colts are going to do after they traded away Carson Wentz has been solved with the trade to the Atlanta Falcons for Matt Ryan. The Colts were a team. I didn't really think Baker Mayfield was an option for them, but I knew they were going to go out and get some veteran. It ended up being Matt Ryan. But I don't want to talk about the Colts here. That's a story for another day. What I want to talk about is, what are the Falcons doing? And kind of the ramifications that has for them in the 2022 NFL Draft. Now, we all know that this Matt Ryan deal was a pretty bad deal for the Falcons. They had signed this big, huge deal with him several years ago, and it was clear that this team was kind of going nowhere. It wasn't Matt Ryan's fault that the team was not having much success, but he is kind of on clearly the downside of his career, and they needed to do something. And that's something that I thought they should have done last year, was taking a quarterback. They were sitting at the 4th overall pick, and they had a shot to take Mac Jones or Justin Fields. And let's be real, it would have been, it should have been Justin Fields. And instead of taking that quarterback, and the notion was, they don't want to take a quarterback. They've got all this dead money in Matt Ryan. They don't want to tie it up in another quarterback, yada, yada, yada. And they ended up passing and saying, hey, we want to take a run with Matt Ryan. They had a new coach in Arthur Smith. They thought maybe they could go out and, draft Kyle Pitts, who they ended up taking, and maybe make a run. And that ended up not being the case. And so instead of taking a quarterback in Justin Fields, and now you're in a position, at least you got a young quarterback to build around, Falcons end up taking a tight end, which Kyle Pitts looks like he's going to be a complete stud in the NFL. But now they're lost. They traded away Matt Ryan for a 3rd-round pick, and now they're left here with who's their quarterback. Now, I get that they signed Marcus Mariota. Not only did they trade away Matt Ryan today for a 3rd-round pick, but then they also went out and signed Marcus Mariota for a 2-year deal. Now, let's be real. Marcus Mariota is not going to be their starting quarterback long term. He's going to be probably the opening day starter. But what are they going to do? Hey, this quarterback class, the 2022 quarterback class, is not good at all. My top quarterback, the guy that I think is the best quarterback in this class, is Kenny Pickett, and he's not great. He's not as good of a quarterback as Mac Jones was last year. His production, his projection is a middle of the road quarterback. I think his ceiling is Kirk Cousins, and they would love to have Kirk Cousins. Hey, the other guy that gets brought up a lot is Malik Willis. Malik Willis is an ultra-talented quarterback, but there's a big question on Malik Willis's, his ability. He's got the talent, but can he put it together? He's the ultimate boom or bust prospect. And Willis is a guy that's going to get mocked a lot to the Falcons, and rightfully so, because this team is literally in a large rebuild. And you could take, at this point, you take the most talented quarterback in this class and know that, hey, you got Marcus Mariota. He can kind of be the bridge. He could be the tutor of Malik Willis. Okay? It will be interesting to see what they do. Now, as I look at that, and as I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about what the Falcons are going to do and whether they should take Malik Willis or not, I got to thinking, well, why would they want a quarterback? As I said, this team's in a complete rebuild. The roster is not good. You look at their weapons. They've got Cordarrelle Patterson and Mike Davis as their running backs. I like Cordarrelle Patterson. I think he's a great piece for this offense, but he's not a foundation running back. He's a weapon. He's a nice number 2, number 3 type, probably a good third weapon on an offense. He's a good complementary piece. You've got Kyle Pitts, who I mentioned earlier, tremendous talent. I think he's going to be an elite tight end in this league in the same breath as like a Darren Waller. But then what else do you have? Calvin Ridley's suspended for a year. You don't have another good wide receiver. Tajay Sharp is right now one of your starters. So this team has a ton of holes. So looking at this team, I mean, they don't even have a pass rusher either. They need pass rushers. If I'm the Falcons, if I'm their general manager, if I'm Arthur Smith, their head coach, why am I taking a quarterback here? You would be reaching, in my opinion, for a quarterback. I like Malik Willis. I think he's got the most potential of any quarterback in this class, but it's all potential. It's all a hope and a prayer. The 2023 quarterback class looks a lot better. You've got C.J. Stroud, who I think is going to be an elite level quarterback prospect. You got Bryce Young, who just won the Heisman Trophy. Another guy that a lot of people, I haven't dug into his tape, but a lot of people are pretty high on. You got DJ Uiagalelei, who had a little bit of a down year this past year, but I think he's going to bounce back. You have potentially 3 quarterbacks there that I believe are light years better than what this class is coming up. So when I think about it, why would you take the gamble? I mean, if the Falcons are going to take a quarterback here, they're gambling that Malik Willis is going to hit. But even if they take him, he's not going to start right away. He's not going to be a guy that's ready to go out there and take his lumps and develop. He's a guy that a lot of people think needs to sit a year or work his way in. So if I'm the Atlanta Falcons, I'm not taking a quarterback in 2022. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm just taking the best player available. Maybe that's that best receiver. It's a Garrett Wilson. Maybe it's a pass rusher like a Jermaine Johnson. Maybe a Trayvon Walker if he's still there. Maybe a Kayvon Thibodeau. I am getting pieces because this team desperately needs pieces. It needs players. And I don't think it would be suited for them to take a quarterback and have to hope and pray that quarterback hits when potentially you could, they're going to be challenging for the number 1 pick in the 2023 NFL draft. Let's be real. This roster, especially if they take a quarterback in this first round, their roster's not very good. So why not continue to add pieces and take a shot at one of those quarterbacks in 2023?